don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game.
Come on! Move on, Joe!
Hey, Spadooooooooni, shut up!
What's up, Joe, bro?
What's up, people? What's up, TC and SAC? What's up, Bay Area? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning to all of you for just getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for school, and for just enjoying the holiday season. You just, up early, enjoying the brisk, cool air, that winter feel, right? Our winters are a little bit different, so if you're listening, I don't know, Minnesota or Montana or all around the world, I appreciate you. You can chime in. Again, the number, 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text, the Comcast Biz text line. And good morning to all of you. This is the Pregame Show, Joe Spadooooooooni. You got me for the next hour right here on 95.7 The Game before handing it off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. A couple ways to watch us. Yeah, you can watch us. You don't just listen to us. You can watch us. 3 different platforms. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all right there, all at your disposal. Download those bad boys, favorite 95.7 The Game, and you'll be good to go. Also, if you just want to listen, you can't hear, you can't, see us. You don't care for that. I do have a face for radio. Got a nose for radio. That's a fact. It is real and it's spectacular. You could download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game there as well if you don't wish to see us. And the app is awesome. You get all the uncut footage there, baby. All the uncut action. So if someone cusses on accident, we dump it for our FCC purposes. So if you're on FM radio, on the dial, the old-fashioned way, you're not going to hear it. But if you're on YouTube, you're on Odyssey app, you'll hear that caller drop the F-bomb and then say sorry immediately after it. And then they're done for the day. Let's talk some more football, shall we? A lot of stuff happened in the last 48 hours in regards to Deebo Samuel, the tweet, the deleted tweet. He spoke yesterday to the media. I want to start here, though. Brian Baldinger joined the morning roast yesterday, as he does each and every Tuesday at 7:30. And we're going to replay the entire interview because Baldy did not hold back on Deebo Samuel. He actually said, he's like, I'm going to take a shot here at Deebo. And he did. And this is how the interview started. Bonte Hill introducing him. They get into Deebo. They talk about Brock Purdy. They talk about the upcoming matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. Brian Baldinger, who breaks down film better than anybody on what he's seeing right now or what he's not seeing from Deebo Samuel. Take it away.
Baldy, good morning to you. And, a lot of Niner fans are just kind of ho-hum about the win over the Chicago Bears. We don't know how to, we don't know what to do about that win, but they do play the Rams on Thursday. They still have an outside chance at winning the division title, albeit being very challenging due to their schedule and record in the division. But let's start with Deebo Samuel because he was on Twitter yesterday, and Twitter can never be a good thing when you're struggling as a football team. And Deebo basically tweeted, I don't know if you saw it, Baldy, but he's basically tweeted saying, I'm not struggling, I'm just not getting the ball enough. And then later on saying, I'm not trying to hate on my teammates, I'm just being for real. Come on, be for real. So you tell us, you watch the film, he's got 85 receiving yards over the last 4 weeks on 11 catches. Is Deebo not getting the ball enough? Or is he getting off a press man? What's going on with Deebo Samuel? Because according to him, he's just not getting the ball.
Well, he's not getting the ball, but, last week, obviously, they made a concerted effort to get the ball to George Kittle. George Kittle was a little icy after the game in the loss the week before. That sort of got Kyle Shanahan's attention. I said on the show last week, I could draw up 5 plays to get George Kittle the ball. And they used all 5 plays exactly the way you would want it. Like you do the same thing with Deebo. If you want to make it so that he gets the ball, you can do that like they did Jamar Chase last night. First play of the game, put him in the backfield and throw it to him. First run of the game, hand it off to him on a fly sweep. If you want to get him the ball, you could get him the ball. And if that feels like that's going to make him happy and make the team better, then you should probably do that. But I don't know that, we have seen him with the ball in his hands this year. He's not been a dynamic player like we're used to seeing from him. I mean, was it just 2 years ago that he led the league in, yards after the catch? Like we're not seeing that right now.
So, are you seeing a physical depreciation
from Deebo, if you were speculating based on film and whatnot? Or is this a schematics thing? Like, what's the bigger issue?
I don't know if they, I think he's the same speed he's always been. He's never been a burner until he gets going. And once he gets going, he runs away from people. But it's not like he's got the fastest first step or the best quickness or anything like that. He's very tough and he's very strong. He breaks tackles. But, like all these guys, the more you feed them, the better they look. And if you're not feeding them and you're not finding them, then you find flaws, you find deficiencies. We've said this for years about Kittle. Like, why can't they get him the ball? Well, it's the same thing with Deebo. Like, if you want to make the effort to get him the ball, maybe get away from the offense a little bit, you could do it. But, they're winning 24-0 last week. It's time to melt the clock. Run the ball, run Durendo, run Taylor, like, run it. Like, there's no point. Like, they even finished the game with the starters last week.
Yeah.
They had a chance to put younger guys in, guys that don't play a lot. Like, that doesn't happen in the NFL very often. But, like, the game dictates what happens to a player. 24-0, let's just run it and get out of here and get the win and get ready for Thursday night.
Well, Baldy, does that sit well with you as a teammate when the next day or even the postgame we saw A.J. Brown kind of, critique his quarterback? We've seen Deebo critique the amount of touches. Like, that would bug me in a win. Like, that would bug me as a teammate. Would it bug you? Well,
yeah, it would bug me. But here's the thing. Forget about my thoughts. Like, honestly, these receivers that do this, and I'm taking a shot here at Deebo, but honestly, nobody wins the Super Bowl because of the receivers. Nobody. They help you, but you win the game because of your quarterback and your defense. Your quarterback helps the receivers. But T.O., Randy Moss, you go through the list of great receivers that we've seen in this league. They don't win Super Bowls. The Eagles won a Super Bowl 7 years ago. They didn't have a receiver that had 1,000 yards receiving. They didn't have a running back that had 1,000 yards, but they were a great team. So you winning 24-0 for the first time, you got a lead last week. And you couldn't win a game for a month. Just take the win. Take the win. Thursday night, national TV, you got the Rams. They beat you earlier this year. Go do something to help win the game against the Rams. Throw a block for Durendo that springs them. Just do the little things. The ball will come your way when you start winning games and you hold on to the ball and you're getting a number of possessions and you're taking care of it. The ball will come your way. The offense is made to be spread around. And so that's what I would tell. I would tell any receiver. Jamar Chase is having an all-world season. They're not going anywhere. So who cares? Honestly, you're right here on the precipice of knocking yourself right out of these playoff hunt. But you got to keep winning. The only way you're going to do is winning. And, really drawing attention to yourself at this point, the season you're having, which is a disappointment for everybody, coming off a Super Bowl loss in overtime. Honestly, just go to work and do everything you can to help everybody out. That's what I would do, and that's what I would say.
It's pretty disappointing to see the tweets because I personally try to stay off of Twitter more so nowadays because it's just toxic. It doesn't help anybody. And to see that, I don't know why you play that sound. Seriously, I don't know. I don't get why Deebo tweeted those things out. So a common response out here in the Bay Area about Sunday's game, a lot of people weren't fired up about the win. I was one of them. It's just hey, it's just the Bears. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? Yeah. Is that fair to say, it's just the Bears, whatever?
It's not fair. That was an interim head coach that's auditioning for a head coaching job. He thought he had the team ready to play. Now, they didn't play well at all. You sacked Caleb Williams 4 straight third downs in a row. The ball just kept, and it just, the sinkhole just got deeper and deeper for the Bears. So I wouldn't say that. The 49ers took the fight to him. Durendo had a great game. He's a talent. And the offensive line, you lose Barch early. You're down to your third team left guard. Those guys played their butts off up front. It's probably Jalen Moore's best game he's ever played. So you won a game, without Trent, without some of your stars, and that hadn't happened in a while. So I think there's enough to, you saw a defensive line get active. We haven't seen Yetur Gross-Matos do anything in this all year. He had himself a great game, back-to-back sacks. No, I think it's important. You getting back on the winning track feels good. Practice feels better. It's a short week. What's coming to town. Stafford was all-world last week. They got their hands full. When he's playing like he played last week against Buffalo, you better be you got to be able to score some points because they're going to put some up.
Before we get to the Rams and move forward with this matchup on Thursday, it's a monster matchup at Levi Stadium. Just give me your overall thoughts on Caleb Williams during this rookie season. Is some of the sacks on him? Is he holding on to the ball too long? Is he seeing it? How would you assess Caleb Williams during his rookie season as a number 1 overall pick?
I feel sorry for the kid. I do. I mean, you fired the offense coordinator. You fired the head coach. He doesn't have a great offense line in front of him. He's trying, can he play better? He can play better. He was under siege all day yesterday or on Sunday. The receiving core is good. I think Rome Odunze is the best, but they struggle in a lot of areas. But there's just for example, if you see what Sam Darnold's doing right now, a big part of Sam Darnold's really excellence this year is what he learned in San Francisco last year. He saw what stability looks like. He saw what game planning is all about. He saw what when you have the best left tackle in football can do to your quarterback and the confidence it gives him. He learned all that. Now he's taking it in a really, really bright offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell. And so the point is the quarterback, and I was talking to Daniel Jones about this on the sideline the other day, because he's never had that in New York. A quarterback's got to be in a stable place. He needs help around him. You need a lot of things to go well for your quarterback to play well. C.J. Stroud's not having the same year he had last year. But nobody commits more penalties than the Houston Texans. And they lost, some receivers. They lost Nico for a while. They lost Mixon. And all of a sudden, he's not playing as well. So to criticize Caleb, I think I've seen some all-world talent from him, some all-world great throws. You don't see anything on a consistent basis because the players around him aren't very good. And there's no stability in the organization.
Yeah, I had a difficult time making any evaluation on him. I just thought that everything around him looked terrible. Back to the Niners. George Kittle, you referenced it. We referenced it. It just felt like to me, where has this been? I wanted to see him get prioritized. You're talking about Jamar Chase. It's a priority to get him the ball. A lot of the great playmakers, the final play for Kansas City, we all knew it's going to Kelsey. Somehow, some way, it's going to Kelsey. I got a beautiful screen on the first drive. I've got a beautiful George Kittle.
Fourth play of the game, Joe. Fourth play of the game. The tight end screen.
It was beautiful. The Kittle tunnel screen later. Kittle immediately right after. Then they get the Jauan Jennings slant on the touchdown. Then a Kittle crosser. The whole first half felt, and Jennings as well, but it felt very Kittle-oriented. We are going to prioritize him. And I'm just left going, why am I not seeing more of this? And I'm almost frustrated by it. And I don't know if that's fair or not.
No, it's totally fair, Joe. Honestly, I played tight end before, I blew out my knee and gained a bunch of weight and moved the offensive line. But I could tell you, that tight end screen, everybody runs that play. You just got to call it. The tunnel screen, it's just a middle screen setup. They're easy. They're actually easy, to get the tight end the ball. Because most teams, if you're in man coverage, all right, Kittle's going to beat man coverage. If he's up on the line of scrimmage, he's going to beat him off the line of scrimmage. And then, after the catch, he's as good as anybody in this business after the catch. Anybody, receiver or tight end. And so you get him on the move like that. I said on my one breakdown of him, there's three certainties in life. That there's death, there's taxes, and Kittle's not going out of bounds. He's always going to draw a little bit of blood. That's how he was raised. That's how he was coached. He's not going out of bounds. And so he's an energizer. And they should do the same thing this week to the Rams.
I agree. We're talking about the Super Bowls where George Kittle gets 3 or 4 targets. Even Sunday, I get it. They got a 24-0 lead, but 6 targets. He catches 6 balls for 151. I need 8 to 10. I see David Njoku in Cleveland getting all the targets from Famous Jameis. We see Kelsey every single week. It's criminal how underused in the passing game George Kittle is. But moving forward here, Brock Purdy. I thought he had an excellent game on Sunday. He was on fire. He was on point. But there was a couple misconnections. And one, we want to figure out what's going on with Ricky Pearsall. Because we touched on it last week where he had 63 targets in the previous 3 games. He had no catches on 3 targets. What do you see from the young man? What did you see from the young man on Sunday? Because we know Purdy was excellent. There's the misconnection on the deep ball there where Pearsall looked open. Purdy took accountability for it, but I don't know, Baldy. What do you see from Ricky Pearsall, the first-round pick out of Florida?
Not much. I mean, they only threw it 25 times, and so, 6 are going to Kittle and, 7 or 8 are going to Jauan just because of his size alone, and he's dependable. And so now you're spreading around to Garendo and Pearsall and Deebo. Like, there's just not a whole lot of targets there in that type of a game last week. But, you're not seeing any sort of priority where he's, okay, this is the progression. It starts with Ricky, and it goes like that. That wasn't really there. So, Brock is going to throw it to the open guy, and wherever that is. And he's got a backup, left side of the offensive line in there right now. Like, he's going to prioritize getting the ball out quick, and whoever's open, whether it's the progression or whether what he sees, that's where he's going to go right now. But I would say that connection needs a lot of work right now.
What about Purdy's arm, shoulder? Couple underthrows. I mean, he completed the pass, so this feels foolish for me to break this down. But as you're watching it, are you seeing anything that maybe, I don't know, concern, or maybe he doesn't look 100%?
I don't see anything like that, Joe. Normally, when a guy is battling any kind of an injury, you can see, like, after he makes a throw or getting up off the ground or whatever it might be, you can see some kind of adjustment or grabbing something. You don't see anything like that would hint that something isn't right. That he's never going to have Matt Stafford's arm. Okay, that's okay. Like, he's got an accurate arm. That's more important. But there's only a couple Staffords in his business that have that type of a slingshot. So we're never going to confuse him with that. But still, he's got more. Joe Montana didn't have that either. But we all know what Joe did. So, like, I think he looks fine to me. It looks like nothing has lingered from that 1 week.
Stafford looks like he's on fire. You mentioned him earlier in this interview, Baldy, and Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. I mean, this Puka kid made just unbelievable play after play against Buffalo. And just with the Rams coming into town, they look like they're headed for one of those late-season surges. Impressive win last night, even though they gave him 42 points. Josh Allen was remarkable. But Puka Nacua, man, who does he remind you of?
I guess he's a bigger Wes Welker. Like, he just has unbelievable quickness. He can see, he's always open, and you can't get the ball to him enough. Like, look if you want to defeat the Rams, you have to defeat their quick game. Their quick game is ridiculous. That means watching Hufanga come back in. That was nice to see. Like, he looked a little bit like Talanoa last week. Mustafa right there. Like, you've got to defeat wide receiver blocks. If you let those guys shield you, get up on you, Nacua and Cooper Kupp, they'll throw 10 of those in this game on Thursday night. Like, you got to defeat that at the point of attack. It's got to be a high priority, because if you let either one of those guys get going, they run right through arm tackles.
Yeah. How does the Niners secondary look right now? Charvarius obviously returning to form, everything that's been going on. Domino Lenore coming back. It was nice to see him make a play. But that young secondary for the safeties, with Talanoa returning, Tig Brown at times not on the field. Malik Mustafa got the wind knocked out of him or got hit in the neck or whatever. How's that secondary looking? This is probably the toughest test they've faced in weeks.
Yeah, because if you just think that Nacua and Cooper Kupp are going to beat you, Demarcus Robinson's beating everybody all year long. Like, when both those guys were hurt, he's the go-to guy. And you can never, and Kyron Williams is just a great football player, just a great player. So, he could beat you in a lot of different ways, that guy. He's a fantastic player. But, like, just Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell, like, one thing that Stafford does, which is really, maybe Burrow does this a little bit, but not that much. Like, he'll just throw the ball to a spot, and he'll just trust his receivers are going to go get it. And it's the darndest thing to watch, because these guys aren't even close to being out of their break, and the ball's going to a spot. And Stafford and those guys, Kupp, Robinson, and Nacua, their adjustment to the ball in the air is ridiculous. It's really something special to watch. Nobody else throws with that level of anticipation in this whole league right now. So that's just something to watch as a fan. But I watch it every week in a film room, and it's like, you just don't know. You just don't see how he sees it so fast, where these guys are going to be.
No, they're in sync. Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, he's not getting touched. They're throwing for a bunch of yards here. Kyron Williams running tough. Blake Crum's involved in the game plan, rookie out of Michigan. But defensively, what's the best way to attack this defense, the LA Rams defense. And a lot of people don't know about it. They got the 2 young rookies from Florida State. But other than that, not a lot of people know about this Rams defense. Baldy, break it down for us. How the Niners going to attack this defense?
Jared Verse could easily be, the rookie of the year. I mean, that guy plays so hard, number 8. You see him, if you put a tight end on this kid, he's going to abuse him. I don't care, run blocking, pass blocking. He's physical. Fisk is a ridiculous athlete with a great motor. You look at Kobe Turner, had 7 sacks last year as a rookie. He's a really good, he wins one-on-ones. Him and Purdy inside is going to be fun to watch. I would say the weakness is probably their corners. You watch, the safeties are good. I always like Cam Curl. He was in Washington, a rookie in Washington. He's a good football player. Cam Kitchens has been the defensive rookie of the week, or defensive player of the week twice this year, one on a 100-yard interception return. They've got a young defense, very young, but they played really hard. Josh Allen was just Josh Allen last week. That's all you could say. He was just, he's just the MVP. There's no other talent like him in this league. And so that's how they put up the 42. He just kept slinging it. But I'd say that this defense can only get better because they've drafted the right guys. They've got a really good young core of players. Byron Young, you just go through all these guys. They're really talented, and they play the game the right way.
So they lose CMC for the whole year, basically. Lost Elijah Mitchell in training camp. Jordan Mason was running it like crazy. Everybody's running it like crazy on this team. He goes down. Now he's probably out for the rest of the year. And then you get Isaac Arenda, who I thought looked spectacular. I thought the little passing angle route where it turned in like a crosser was just a gorgeous play design. He has great hands. I thought his eyes were great, and he was figuring out how to run in this system. And then he goes down. How big of a loss is this? And just overall, their ability to plug and play at the running back spot, I mean, are they going to feel it on Thursday?
Yeah. Yeah, eventually you feel it. I mean, even that crosser that you talked about out of the backfield, now that's a McCaffrey play, but it's a choice route, and he just saw a zone, and he saw an opening, he just kept going. Normally you sit down in the middle on a Texas route, but I think he just saw it and just kept going. He read it properly. That's not easy to do. He got one-on-one, with Sanborn down the stretch, down the seam, Purdy fed it to him perfectly. I don't know if they have another guy right now that can play like that. It's next man up, but they've had 3 step up and all play great. And, they're still trying to replace McCaffrey, but Mason, Garendo, they were great. I don't know if they have another guy that can play like that.
Well, we know Jauan Jennings is playing out of this world right now. If there's a positive moving forward, the Niners give out this award called the Lynn Eshmont Award for most inspirational. Jauan Jennings, what a season he's having to become the 49ers' top wide receiver, man. We can't go through this interview without bringing up Jauan Jennings, man. He plays, if there's anybody who wants it, this guy's played like he's wanted it every single week he's been on the football field, Baldy.
He's unreal. I remember talking to Jimmy Garoppolo about him one day. I'm like, what? Because I was just trying to figure out who he was and who he reminded of. I remember Jimmy just telling me, well, he's not very fast. He's not really quick, but dang, he gets open. And that's kind of him. He's got a big body. He plays the game the right way. He can separate a little bit. He's a great blocker. Great blocker. He really is talented in that department. And as you have to be to play in that system. He's just the ultimate team player right now. Team player and dependable. Every team. I remember when Michael Thomas was in New Orleans with Drew Brees, and his Twitter handle was, "You can't guard Mike." Yeah. And honestly, I feel like that's a little bit like Jauan. You can't guard Jauan. He's always open. He just knows how to attack the football. He's aggressive to the ball in the air. And that's a good, I think that's a good quality to have.
He's got that box out, he's not this player, but very similar to Anquan Bolden, where he used to just vice grip the ball in traffic, and I was just so impressed with him. One thing that is going to get lost in the win, and you're winning by a lot, the kicking game. I know there's new rules. I know people are trying things out. Jake Moody didn't even get it to the appropriate distance twice in this game on kickoffs. I don't know what to make of what's the snow game. I just kind of throw it to the side. It's really difficult to kick. He hasn't been great this year. I don't understand exactly what's going on. Is this an issue? Is this a problem? What's going on with Jake Moody, the kicker?
Well, it's a nightmare for any defensive coordinator when the offense is starting at the 40. It's a nightmare. Like, they've talked about it all preseason. Every coordinator I talked to, they said the same thing. Like, who wants to start on defense at the 40-yard line? So these kickers, like, they're honestly, they should never buy a home. I don't care what their name is. Like, you should never feel like you have security. That's kind of how all their careers go. You look at guys like Graham Gano, whatever, like, they're just on a carousel. They just get on the next bus. They go to the next stop because they all lose their stroke at some point for whatever reason. It could be injury. It could be in their head. It could be I don't know, just how they are perceived by the front office, whatever. Like, there's not too many that basically you watch Justin Tucker just fall apart right now. He's been the best in the history of this whole game. He's fallen apart. Like, it just happens to these guys. And you got to have the next guy up and ready to go. You never know when they're just going to lose it and when you might have to move on from them.
Jake Elliott in Philadelphia, man. They're really – Justin Tucker struggling, man. What a nightmare for kickers around the league. Baldy, where are you going to be at this weekend? Hopefully not in Minnesota. You've been there back-to-back weeks.
No, I'm taking a break. I'm going out to L.A. I'm going to see the Harbaugh and the Chargers against the Bucs this weekend. Two teams battling for playoff spots here, so it should be pretty fun.
I love Jauan Jennings, Baldy. I love him.
Yeah, I
wanted the Niners to draft him over McGlinchey. I did the draft show that. I love watching him play.
So in that draft, Joe, you'll remember this. There was two safeties. There was Minka and there was Derwin. They remember, like, it was like, how could you go wrong? It was sort of like that. And I remember, Minka gets drafted by the Dolphins, and they can't really figure out how to use him. They got him in the slot. He's a nickel, and they traded him. Well, I forget who the GM was. And as soon as he got to Pittsburgh, his first game was against the 49ers.
Yeah, I remember that.
He had two takeaways in that game.
Yep.
I'm like, Minka's a Steeler. That's what it is. He's a Steeler. And both those guys, first of all, the game is unbelievably important to both those guys. They're both if you're doing a 4-hour radio show, Joe, you'd want Derwin or Minka sitting right next to you talking football. Like, you wouldn't get enough. Like, they love it. They love talking about it, playing about it. They love their teammates. Like, it's just their credit. Both of them are a credit to the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris Greer, GM of the Miami Dolphins there. And the Bucs, man, they got my boy Bucky Irvin, who left the game last week with a back injury. But I like this Tampa Bay team, man. Baker's scrappy. Bucky Irvin's running hard. Mike Evans is back. Tampa's going to steal that division in the AFC South, Baldy.
I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, unless Atlanta goes to Michael Penix Jr., they're not going to win that division because I've seen enough of Kirk Cousins here. Yeah. Like, his arm is dying on him, like it does to all old quarterbacks. It's literally dying. But I picked Tampa to win that division earlier this year. Like, Todd Bowles is just a good coach, and they got a toughness about that team. They're like everybody else. They've had a ton of injuries, lost guys. You lose, Godwin and Evans for 3 straight weeks. You lose your 1 and 2. Like, that's tough to overcome. But they got rookies. Jalen McMillan stepped up from Oregon last week. He looked really good, or from Washington, I should say. Washington.
Yeah, Washington. Yep. Washington.
Washington. Yeah. He was there with Rome. Yeah. No, I think they're going to win. Like, this is going to be a good game. They got to win this game.
No, that's a really good game, Baldy. It's a hell of a game down at SoFi Stadium, Tampa Bay and the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh and company. All right, Baldy, man, we'll talk to you next week as the Niners take on the Rams. Good luck as always.
Yep. See you guys.
And that was Brian Baldinger yesterday on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest lines. And we're going to react to that interview on the other side, 888-957-9570, and what Deebo Samuel had to say about his deleted tweet yesterday to the media on 95.7 The Game.
Looking for last-minute gifts? Shane Company can help, even if you're still planning to propose. We have a wide selection of hand-picked diamonds and colorful gemstones in stock.
Dub Nation, it's the voice of the Warriors, Tim Roy. You're listening to the pregame show with Joe Spadooooooooni on 95.7 The Game.
Thanks, Tim. Tim Roy will be on the call tonight as the Warriors take on the Houston Rockets in the Emirates NBA Cup quarterfinals. Coverage of that starts at 5:30 with Warriors Live. And again, tip-off 6:30. Voice of the Golden State Warriors, Tim Roy, will be on the call there. And we'll take all your calls after the game with Warriors wrap-up as well. Will they be advancing to the semifinals of the Emirates NBA Cup, or will they be sent packing? Well, we'll find out. 888-957-9570, though. You just heard Brian Baldinger and what he had to say. And this is the one for me that really was like, wow, Baldy. He's not happy with the likes of Deebo Samuel and A.J. Brown, what they have to say. Take one more listen if you missed it. Brian Baldinger taking a shot at Deebo and wide receivers complaining about targets after wins.
These receivers that do this, I'm taking a shot here at Deebo, but honestly, nobody wins the Super Bowl because of the receivers. Nobody. They help you, but you win the game because of your quarterback and your defense. Your quarterback helps the receivers. But T.O., Randy Moss, I mean, you go through the list of great receivers that we've seen in this league. They don't win Super Bowls. The Eagles won a Super Bowl 7 years ago. They didn't have a receiver that had 1,000 yards receiving. They didn't have a running back that had 1,000 yards, but they were a great team. So you winning 24-0 for the first time. You got a lead last week, and you couldn't win a game for a month. Just take the win. Take the win. Thursday night, national TV. You got the Rams. They beat you earlier this year. Go do something to help win the game against the Rams. Throw a block for Garendo that springs them. Just do the little things. The ball will come your way.
So A.J. Brown, Philadelphia Eagles star wide receiver, although they got a couple of them, Devontae Smith. But I'd say A.J. Brown's their best receiver. He's complaining about the passing of the offense hasn't been great for him in his numbers the last few weeks, although they are winning. They have won 9 straight games, and the Eagles look like the second best team in the conference outside of the Detroit Lions, and they have a monster matchup this weekend against the in-state rivals Pittsburgh Steelers. Can't wait for that matchup. So he goes out after the game and complains about Jalen Hurts and the passing and all that sort of stuff. And Deebo Samuel, after his game in a win, tweeted on X. Sorry, it's not Twitter, but whatever you call it. He X'd on X. I don't know. Quote, not struggling at all, just not getting the ball. That's it. He's not struggling, he's just not getting the ball. He deleted it and then went on to say, I'm not hating on any of my teammates on a separate tweet. And Deebo spoke to the media yesterday and was asked about it.
Care to expand on your feelings or what you wanted to convey with that?
I mean, you read what you read. A little frustrated for sure.
You read what you read, a little frustrated for sure. Reminiscent of one Mike Florio joining the Morning Roast, I might add.
I said what I said.
There you go. You read what you read. He said what he said. Okay. Who's he taking a shot at, by the way? Is that at Kyle Shanahan? Is that at Brock Purdy? Is that in the entire offense? I'm curious. So you had Kittle kind of have a little bit, as Baldy called it, some icy comments, which was well taken there because it was a blizzard out in Buffalo when they lost. And he complained about his lack of targets in that Buffalo game. And now we got Deebo Samuel complaining about his lack of targets after a win against the Chicago Bears. Will we see his big day like we just saw Kittle's this past week after calling out the team, maybe in a more subtle way, George Kittle that is, but will we see a big Deebo game this Thursday? Hey, Kittle thinks so.
Deebo's one of our best playmakers, and while he might not have all the stats to show for it this year, touchdowns, stuff like that, he's had a couple ones called back. He's been fantastic for us on kickoff return. And, I thought Deebo actually, against the Bears, the opportunities that he had, he was trying to make the most of them. And unfortunately for a couple of those, they had better calls into the plays that we called. And whether it was some type of pressure, some type of how they switched their defense up, or, we didn't execute those blocks for him in the ways that we should have. But, to me, Deebo's very close to just breaking it wide open. So I'm very excited for him this Thursday because I think he's going to have one of those amazing Deebo Thursday night games, especially against the Rams. That's what I see. guys want to voice their opinions on social media. It is what it is. I don't really care. It doesn't make anybody in this locker room think any differently about him. Deebo thinks highly of himself, as we all think very highly of Deebo because he's a hell of a football player. So he just wants to, be out there and contribute to the team, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to do that this weekend.
So Kittle's got belief in his guy, and Kittle, again, that's what a leader says. That is a leader of an offense right there. The way he speaks, the way he presents himself, what he has to say. He's always gassing up the other players. He's always bringing everyone up. He's not creating tension. He's not doing any of that stuff. That's the leader on the 49ers offense right now. Just like Fred Warner is the leader on the 49ers defense. Those are the guys that you need to lean on in times like this. And you're going to be leaning on Kittle again because he's been your best overall player as well this season. So Kittle having his guys back. Now the quarterback, Brock Purdy. His thoughts, speaking to the media yesterday on Deebo's comments on social.
I mean, Deebo and I talk all the time, and he's like one of my best friends on this team. Like, I absolutely love Deebo and what he's done for me and helping me out. We talk all the time. And, I think he's right. Like, he's doing great right now with what we ask of him in the offense, and he's not struggling. Like I've said before about, like guys like Ricky or last year with Ayuk for a little bit, like there's just moments, I guess, throughout seasons where, guys just don't get the ball, just depending on like scheme or like what the defensive scheme is and, them taking guys away. So I want to get Deebo the ball every play if I could. I want to have him break all the records as best as possible. I want Deebo to do Deebo things, and we all do in this building. So it's just how the games have gone. But I love my guy, and I'm going to do everything I can to, get him the ball. So.
Not saying Brock Purdy isn't one of the leaders of this team, because whenever you're the quarterback, you are a leader, whether you like it or not, because you're touching the ball more than anyone else. You're commanding that offense. It runs through you. But I would like to see that next step and next evolution of Brock Purdy after he gets this new contract, which he's going to get, folks. He's going to get paid by the 49ers, whether you like it or not. That's happening. Taking that next step as a leader. Holding everyone accountable on that team, whether it's a wide receiver, a Deebo Samuel, whether it's an offensive lineman, whether it's a tight end, whether it's a running, whoever. That's the next step in Brock Purdy's evolution as a quarterback and as a leader on this team. You want to be up there with the likes of the Mahomes, with the likes of the Josh Allens, all those guys. They get in the players' faces a lot. I don't know if that's in Purdy's DNA. It really wasn't in Jimmy's as much, although you go back to that little clip, Bonte always references it. He's always yelling at the line of scrimmage, telling people where to go, where to effing go, you go effing all this sort of stuff. But we knew who Jimmy was in the offseason. It was reported by Mike Silver. He ghosted people. He just, hey, I'm Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm going to go live my life in the offseason. And you know what? It's probably a pretty good life, so I don't blame the guy. But it's hard when you see Jimmy and who he was a backup for so long, and none of that rubbed off on him, right? I mean, Tom Brady, we've all watched the Tom vs. Time or all the docs that he's been a part. Like, he lived, slept, and breathed football 24/7, 365. So much so that cost him a relationship. Multiple relationships. But that's how much it meant to him. The importance of winning at the highest level and having every single person be accountable and be on the same page. Now, that's the Patriot way. It's the Tom Brady way. I don't know if that's possible here. And I'm not asking it for it to be the Patriot way, but I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that next killer instinct mentality of a Brock Purdy and the maturation of him as a quarterback and as a leader is something I'm fascinated by when he gets paid by the Niners. It's not a matter of if, it's when. We're up against it. We got one more segment to go. 2 down, 888-957-9570. We'll put a bow on this 49ers conversation and maybe get into some trade talks, apparently, because that's what's the flavor of the month right now, talking about the Golden State Warriors. Every time I see them on TV, they're talking about the Warriors. Oh, is it LeBron? Is it Jimmy Butler? Is it Dennis Schroeder? Who is it? Well, we'll find out. Are they going to make a trade? Are they going to make a big trade? Are they going to make an average trade? What are they going to do? We'll dive into that as the pregame show, Joe Spadooooooooni, rolls on 95.7 The Game.
Many architects and builders who team up with Golden State.
up there yet.
Evan Giddings doing a hell of a job producing, by the way. Steiny and Goo. He was filled in for Goo yesterday on air. I think Goo's back today. We'll see. Again, we'll see. I keep walking myself into that one. But he is a great...
We'll see.
He has a great find for certain drops that, you know what, makes me proud. As a guy who trained him behind the glass, one of his mentors. Yeah, I'm basically his Pat Riley. Basically. And, maybe, just maybe, he'll be my Magic Johnson. We'll find out. We'll see. 888-957-9570. Putting a bow on this 49ers conversation as we're going to pivot here to the Warriors in just a second. Again, Warriors Rockets tonight, 6:30 tip out in H-Town for the Emirates NBA Cup. And again, it's the quarterfinal. They win this, they go to the semifinals. They go to that. Yeah. I mean, you're in Vegas for semifinals, then you win the whole damn thing, and then got to hang that banner, baby. Let's go. Why not? Hey, listen, it's absolutely contrived. It's very, manufactured. It has a very plastic-like feel to it. But you know what? Who cares? Winning's fun. And even if it's some fake tournament, you're going to want to go out there and win it. Why? Because you're about winning. That's why you're into the sport. Now, if you're not, and you're just like talented and you want the bag, I think you go do baseball. That's what you should do. Like, if you find yourself being really good at like baseball, basketball, and football, and you're just really good at it, but you don't really care for playing sports that much, just stick to baseball. Focus on that. You will get paid. It'll all be guaranteed. And maybe, just maybe, you end up being Juan Soto and you get $800 million. And I'm not saying Juan Soto doesn't like baseball, but you know what? There's a lot of people, right, that winning isn't everything. I know for Mike Trout, it's not everything. And he's also made $1 bajillion. And he's a Hall of Famer. Who's trading for Mike Trout, by the way? Someone going to do that? Someone going to make a big splash for the Trout man? The Giants going to do it? We'll see. Willie Adames, by the way, speaking to the media tomorrow, I believe, is introductory presser. And we'll have our men down there. Sam Lubman will be down there. Steven Risotto, our guy. They'll be down there crushing it. Speaking of crushing it, 49ers crushed the Bears this past week. I don't know if they're going to do that against the Los Angeles Rams. It's going to be a very interesting game because the first time they met, the teams offensively just looked so different, right? Now, you had Mason there for the Niners. Obviously, there's no McCaffrey. You didn't have Deebo Samuel. You didn't have George Kittle. You had Jauan Jennings with one of the greatest wide receiver performances in a regular season game we've ever seen from a 49ers wide receiver. He was insane. Brock Purdy was making plays left and right. Ronnie Bell dropped the ball. But on the other side is what was more concerning for me because the Rams also didn't have their two best receivers and maybe two of the best, if not the best tandem in the NFL when it comes to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They were both out. And the likes of Tutu Atwell and DeMarcus Robinson, those guys were getting it done. And special teams were making plays. I don't anticipate that first game to look anything like this upcoming game and tomorrow's game. I just don't. I really don't know what to expect from tomorrow. The way the 49ers won, it's like, okay, they beat a bad team. The Rams aren't a bad team. So I'm going to pause and say I have confidence in the 49ers that they can get it done tomorrow because I'd be lying. Because I don't want to get fooled again. Oh, it was a great win. Oh, can they build off of it? No, not when it's against good teams. The Rams are over 500. They're a good team. They just had their most impressive win of the year. Oh, but they could be overlooking the Niners. I don't think they're overlooking the Niners. I think Sean McVay and Matt Stafford know more than anyone that they've gotten their asses kicked more often than not when they've played the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they got the big one in the playoffs a few years back in the NFC Championship game, ended up going on to win the World Series. The Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium, at their home turf. But even since then, it has been tough sledding at Levi Stadium for Matt Stafford, for Kyron Williams, for Sean McVay, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, although Puka Nacua is, I think, undefeated at Levi Stadium. So Puka's fine there. But again, That was Carson Wentz v. Sam Darnold last year. And look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's, he's going to get paid. Speaking of getting paid, good for Sam. If anything, someone's going to break him off a bag. I don't know who it's going to be. It's the Raiders, so help me God. Anyways, Mark Schlereth joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, our Odyssey NFL insider. Obviously, Mark Schlereth does a great job for Fox Sports. He's an analyst, does the morning show over there as well. And here he is talking about the 49ers' chances, and he goes back to the Buffalo game that made him feel like the 49ers, maybe they just don't have it this year.
Made me think that they're done. Like, stick a fork in them. They're like, they're still, 2 games out behind Seattle right now, game out behind, I think they're tied with Arizona, game out behind the LA Rams. The LA Rams in that division can control their own destiny, and we saw what they did to the Buffalo Bills. Unbelievable performance by the 2 wide receivers in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. So I still think the same thing. I think they've dug themselves too big of a hole. They have not been able to compete offensively. They have not looked the same that they normally look, and have not created the explosive plays that we're used to watching them, create. And I think right now it feels to me to be a little too late.
I think that's how a lot of 49ers fans feel right now, and that's why they're kind of frustrated after that win. Yes, frustrated after a win is a good feeling, but not in the case of this season. You're frustrated because where has that been during that 3-game losing streak? You couldn't have had that against the Packers. I know, they're a playoff team. You couldn't have that against the Bills. I know, they're a playoff team. It was in the blizzard. But against the Seattle freaking Seahawks and Geno Smith does night-night, maybe in hindsight, that was the season. Anytime Geno Smith does the night-night a la Steph Curry at Levi Stadium, oh, boy, just brutal. Just brutal. And speaking of that Bears win, for Mark Schlereth, that just brings up more questions.
Yeah, like you watch it and you're like, oh, there's the Niners. Where's that team been all season? Like, where's that offense been all season? So, yeah, it didn't make me feel like all of a sudden, oh, they got a chance. I just think they've dug themselves too deep a hole.
And can they dig out of it? 888-957-9570. That's going to be the question. That starts tomorrow against the Los Angeles Rams. Thursday Night Football. I'll be locked and loaded for that game. We'll have all the reaction on Friday as well. And we'll have all the reaction after the game with Kyle Madsen, Sterling Bennett, Mark Grandy. All right here on 95.7 The Game. So be locked and loaded. We'll all the coverage leading up to the game, after the game. And obviously we'll be reacting to whether or not the Warriors advance to the Emirates NBA Cup semifinals. And that starts tonight in the quarterfinals against the Houston Rockets. But the big topic of conversation is not the NBA Cup. It's, who are they going to trade for? Are they going to trade for Jimmy Butler? Are they going to trade away Jonathan Kuminga? So that's the question right now. Before I dive too deep into that, I do see Chris in San Jose. And whenever we got Chrissy in San Jose, we got to go to him. Although, Chris, I'm going to be honest, you've been cheating on me a little bit. I saw you got quote tweeted from Willard and Dibbs either last week or a few days ago. I mean, you're big time now, brother.
They tweeted me, man. I better download a Twitter or an X, whatever it's called these days. I got to go Google that. That's funny. Yeah, I call Steiny. I bounce it around. I'm on the road a lot for work, so I also know we're up against it. So I'll keep it brief. Listen, tomorrow's got to be a dogfight, baby. No egos. 60 minutes of straight being a dog. Whether you're special teams, whether you're the long snapper, I don't care who you are. Because guess what? The Rams have everything in front of them. They're 1 game back. They end the year with the Seahawks, and they don't have a tough opponent like us in Detroit. So we need to go out there, want to kick somebody in the teeth, snap a leg off, whatever Dan Campbell was saying, bite their kneecaps. I want a dog fight tomorrow, Spadooooooooni. So let's have a wonderful Wednesday. I'm going to try to come in on the morning roast, not the morning roast, the pregame show with my guy Spadooooooooni leading up to the Doobie Awards. I gave up real Doobie, so I need a Doobie Award. You know what I'm saying? All right, Spadooooooooni, you have a good one, buddy. I love you, kid.
That's Chris in San Jose. I love that guy. This is great energy. And happy hump day.
Happy hump day, people. Happy hump day.
Chris, to all of you just getting off work, getting ready for work. If you're finishing up your semester, your finals, all that, you're up early. I appreciate you grinding because it's not easy getting up this early. Anything before 6 o'clock, to be honest, is nothing's easy. commutes, whatever you're doing. I appreciate you. If no one else will say it, I will. Are the 49ers going to make a big trade? No. Are the Warriors going to make a big trade? Maybe. Jonathan Kuminga? He's the biggest trade bait right now that they have. You're going to attach the DeAnthony Melton, salary slot. You're going to attach, Moses Moody to that. If you're going to do something big, are you going to get a Jimmy Butler who is a free agent after this season? Are you going to do that for a rental? Would you rather not have one big aging star? Would you rather have a couple of pretty good role players that could help you out? Maybe I'd pick the latter in that scenario. The likes of Spencer Dinwiddie. Check that, not Spencer Dinwiddie. Is he even still on I don't even know where he's at. Dorian Finney-Smith. I always get their names confused. Dorian Finney-Smith, or the likes of Dennis Schroeder, who has been known to give the Warriors fits, but he's a solid player. He's a guy that the Warriors could use right now. A guy that could shoot the three ball, a guy that could have dribble drive penetration, a guy that could get a tough bucket when they need him to. If Stephen Curry's in foul trouble, if Stephen Curry's out for a game, a guy that can facilitate the ball, and who's a pest defensively. Yeah, he's a knucklehead at times, but you know what? You kind of need players like that. Iron sharpens iron, and I think he'd be great with a guy like Draymond Green, who, remember, in that playoff series against the Lakers a couple years ago, I believe Dennis Schroeder was in the first quarter, got ejected going at Draymond Green. So that's a name to just keep an eye on, and we'll break more of that down tomorrow. And whether the Warriors are advancing in the Emirates NBA Cup. And we'll ask Anthony Slater about it on the Morning Roast at 8:30. All those questions about the trades, NBA Cup, all of that. Again, Anthony Slater, our 95.7 The Game Warriors insider, covers the team for The Athletic. 8:30, the Morning Roast, which is next with Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. Have a good morning, everybody.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
Do you know the most important factor in your company's success?